Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this episode, we're going to be taking another deep dive into the Haunted Mansion home office overlay with the help of friends Hollywood Haunter as we tackle our most detailed build to date, replicating the window cornices from California's Haunted Mansion. So let's get started. First things first, Chris started with the lower trim panel by cutting down a piece of lumber on the table saw to make the lower skirt of the cornice. With the horizontal cut finished, he switched over to his jigsaw and cut in the rounded arch detail before using his router to add the decorative half-round edge. Next, he cut down the main box panel. Then it was glued and nailed to the lower horizontal edge with a slight reveal to allow space for the trim details. Then it was on to adding the thick corner pillars, which were glued and nailed into interior framing that won't be seen from the outside. After the corner posts, Chris added some half-round trim to the face of the cornice box. This is cut down and mitered before being nailed into the reveal he created earlier. With the trim in place, he dry fit the lower skirt panel and marked his cut lines to ensure a snug fit before cutting and nailing the pieces in place. Now we can get to the part of the build where concentration is a must: moldings. A few quick cuts and before I knew it, he had the entire front of the box wrapped with its new crown molding. Next, he added these side returns that match the same profile detail as he created on the front. The last step was the addition of a top and edge banding, and this build was done. Then it was packed up and brought back to the shop for me to start on my part of the build. Before I could add on the details and paint, I was going to have to do a bit of prep work. I started by filling nail holes and any seams or large cracks with air dry spot putty, before giving the entire piece a good sanding. With all the prep work complete, I can lay down the base color of paint. Once again, I'm using Rust-Oleum Warm Caramel spray paint in a satin finish. When the paint was dry, it was time to add on a few detail pieces to complete the build. First up are these cone details at the bottom of each pillar. I modeled these in Fusion 360 and 3D printed them in resin to minimize the amount of sanding that I'd need to do. To help with alignment, I modeled in a peg on the bottom of the part and made a corresponding hole on the vertical pillars. This type of mechanical connection will ensure a better bond and helps with alignment. A bit of super glue to secure them in place, and then a quick coat of paint. The last detail I needed to add was the vertical pyramids that I printed on my FDM printer, since the shape is larger than the build surface of my resin printer and would be pretty easy to sand. I glued them in place with CA glue, and then it was time for a quick sanding before masking them off and applying some air dry spot putty to minimize the layer lines from the 3D printing. bit more sanding and a quick wipe down to remove any of the dust, and then they could be painted in the base color. Now we can get on to the wood graining. If you saw the first video in this series where I painted the ceiling medallion, this technique won't be new to you. With a bit of walnut stain, I'll brush it across the entire surface, really pushing the stain around to get a good streaky finish. This is how you get that wood grain look. If this is your first time trying this technique, be sure to start on a piece of scrap material or in an inconspicuous spot to get a feel for how the wood stain moves on the surface. Repeat this process until the entire cornice is covered, then allow it to dry for 24 hours. So for those of you following along at home, that's 3 tasks down and only 50 more to go. Damn you, Disney. I'd like to give a special thanks to Hollywood Haunter for helping out with this project. If you haven't already subscribed to their channel, head on over there and check out their videos because they have some amazing projects that I know you'll want to see. Be sure to leave a comment and like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And most importantly, go make something.